Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 233, Aging in Reverse, with my friend Natalie Jill. Now, I'm super psyched about this one. It's a bonus Wednesday episode. You guys, I used to do Wednesday episodes all the time, and I kind of backed down from that. And I had a conversation with Natalie. She's got a new book coming out, and I wanted to help support that as well. So I thought this was just a natural fit to toss in a bonus Wednesday episode for you guys. I hope that you love this conversation. I know you'll love this conversation. I've been getting a ton of great feedback from you guys, by the way. We got a lot of momentum with the show. Things are really picking up steam, and I just want to say thank you so much. If you guys want to further the connection, I've been doing a ton of one-on-one free coaching sessions. I love talking to you guys, especially if you're somebody that's just listened to a ton of episodes and you feel like the way that I coach, my vibe, my message really resonates with what you need to hear right now. Let's link up one-on-one, me and you, and we can see if we can create a little bit of mojo, a little bit of momentum for your transformation. Just head on over to millionpoundmission.com, and the link to get on my calendar is right there. All right, this episode is a big one. Natalie is amazing because she has experienced, a rock bottom moment that honestly I didn't really realize that she had experienced. I talk about it in the episode, but I kind of grouped her in. It's not something I'm proud of, but I have certain barriers that I put up with the health industry in general. Like, I don't follow a whole lot of the big influencers in health and fitness because I'm like, I just don't relate to those people. My story is different. They look and they talk differently than I do. I'm more of like the average Joe, people's champion type of a person. And I kind of lumped Natalie into that group. And during the interview, I actually apologized to her for doing that. So I don't know. It's an interesting interview. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. So the key thing the key question I want you asking yourself is, have you ever found yourself at absolute rock bottom or sinking into a rock bottom moment where you're basically left wondering, what in the hell do I do next? Right? I think a lot of us have been there. I know I've been there. So this is obviously a very scary place to be, but it's also a place of huge opportunity. And if you handle things properly, you can build the body, the relationships, and the life of your dreams as you rise up from those ashes of your tough circumstances. Now, Natalie Jill is definitely, like I said, an amazing example of this exact scenario. 10 years ago, Natalie was a divorced single mom. She was broke. She was overweight. She was in debt up to her eyeballs. She had lost her house. She had lost her confidence. And she actually didn't even get into fitness or nutrition or any of that whole scene until she was 39 years old. So she was late to the game for a lot of health and fitness influencers as far as the standard goes. Now, since then, she's been on 11 magazine covers after the age of 40, despite society saying she was too old for any of that mess. And she became a master at creating a vision, shifting her mindset, and learning to create all possibilities from absolute nothing. All right, now she thrives on helping others change their past stories and patterns to shift their beliefs and results. Now, in this episode, Natalie and I have a really interesting discussion. We talk about her rock bottom moment, how she pulled herself up out of that. We talk about her thoughts on walking the fine line between ending body shame, but also not accepting poor health. Super interesting. I really enjoyed getting her thoughts on that point. We talk about what inspired her to write her new book, Aging in Reverse, and what that is all about. And we also talk about her advice for somebody who is ready to pull themselves out of their own rock bottom moment. You're going to love this episode. Make sure you check out Natalie's new book, Aging in Reverse. It is out, ready to rock today. And if you resonate with this message, then support her and dig deep on the Natalie Jill story and her whole universe of information, because there is plenty. So without any further delay, let's dive into this one. Here is episode number 233, Aging in Reverse with Natalie Jill. All right, Natalie, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are we doing today, my friend?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really excited to get you connected to my audience. If they don't already know about Natalie Jill, we are going to introduce them to Natalie Jill. And I think your story is going to resonate with so many people that listen to this show. We're going to light them up and we're going to send them away with a ton of momentum. So are you ready to get these people lit up?
I'm so ready.
All right. Now, I think you have a super interesting story. And I love to start at the rock bottom moment? Because I've been there.
Oh
I
my
talk
gosh.
about that all the time,
Yeah.
my own story. And I think that your story of hitting that rock bottom and bringing yourself up out of it and creating this just dream scenario with the way you've manifested your life, I think it's pretty amazing. So let's start at
Yeah.
rock bottom and
Oh
build
my
from there.
gosh. And it's so funny, like thinking back to that, because I've actually had lots of failures in my life and lots of mini rock bottoms. So there's so many stories in that. And I think, and that's important for people to know, because so many times when people are facing a rock bottom or a really serious challenge, they think they're alone or like the world is turning on them. And I just want people to know that anyone and everyone has those times. And the harder you rise, the harder you fall, So it's just part of life and it's normal. And there's always great lessons in it. But I'll take you back to my big rock bottom, which was like my super big turning point and what brought me into the journey of where I am today. So I'll take you back about 11 years. And I just had my daughter. And this was back in, do you remember what was going on in like 2007, 2008, around that time? Like, yeah, the housing market crash,
Yeah.
stock market crash, financial craziness everywhere. And we had come off an area of the keeping up with the Joneses, like everyone owned a house. Everyone was like impressing each other with their things. And it was all on borrowed money. Everyone was, they thought they had so much money in their housing. It was like how social media is today. Like everyone thinks they have all these followers. It was like the same with housing market. Like I have all this equity in my home. So I was living this life that was very fake. And what I mean by that is I had gone to college. I had gotten a good job. I lived in the house with a white picket fence. I had the 2 dogs. I was pregnant. I was married. Like I looked like I had this perfect life on the outside. But what people didn't know is it was all completely falling apart. What had happened to me was I gained a lot of weight when I was pregnant. And I'm 5'2". So 60 pounds on 5'2" is a lot, especially when your baby weighs about 6 pounds. So I didn't have like a 44-pound placenta. That's not what happened. I had eaten a lot of McDonald's and junk, and I didn't work out while I was pregnant. There was that. I was going through a divorce. So I was dealing with depression and realizing I was going to be alone. I was facing being a new single mom. Which that's nothing unusual. A lot of people deal with it, but I had a job that required full-time travel. And I didn't know how I was going to keep that job and travel full-time as a single mom. I also found myself for the first time in my life completely backwards and in debt, where all of a sudden I owed way more on my house than what I could sell it for. And I didn't have the money to pay for the mortgage anymore. And this was the first time in my life, mind you. So there's some people listening that maybe they are in debt or they've been in debt. They've had that before. I had never experienced that in my life. In fact, I was pretty self-righteous about it. Like, how does anyone get in debt? And it's like, boy, did the universe want to check me, So my rock bottom, I can remember like 2 specific moments. One moment was I was walking my daughter and I caught an image of myself in one of those windows where you see the reflection of yourself looking back. And I didn't recognize who I was. I was overweight. I had bags under my eyes. I just looked in this mirror reflection and I'm like, gosh, I'm like 35, 36 years old. And I just look haggard and old and overweight and just who is this reflection staring back at me? It's not even me anymore. And I remember looking at that, also not having the energy or the desire I just felt like yuck and blah. And what's wrong with me? I have no desire or passion. There was that. And then there was another moment of me putting my credit card to fill my gas tank and it being declined for the first time in my life. And I called American Express. It was American Express. And I said, hey, why is my credit card declined? I've never had a late payment in my life. And they said, well, Natalie, you're $1.4 million in debt on your credit. And I was like, what? Like, what? And I just remember feeling like the biggest loser. And mind you, I wasn't somebody that was out like spending and buying and gambling. I was doing any of that. I was being what I thought was responsible. I just got myself in a bad situation. And I went into victim mode. I went into, I suck, I'm a loser, the world is falling apart, and I'm the victim of it all. Like that's the story that was going on in my head. And that was that rock bottom moment. Now, what I will share is what was working for me at that time was I am an intelligent person and I am a creative person. And I knew deep down somewhere that really wasn't who I was, that was not who I was. And the real me was hiding under all of this, whatever, right now.
So you touched on a lot of things there. I know my audience is listening going, Adam loves this because we have so many similarities in our story. Like I started losing weight in 2007 and and doing all of my whole life. I call it my lifestyle rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And, the debt thing was there. I had $40,000 in credit card debt that I was like, just, I had that same moment at the grocery card,
Yeah.
not enough funds to buy groceries. So two of the things that a lot of people feel kind of buried by when they know they need to shift, but they just feel like the world is just dumping it on is they don't have enough time, and they, they can't find the fire. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, no, I need to do it, but I just can't get motivated. So how did you, as a single mom, find the time and then also find the fire to initiate momentum? I feel like
so I'm gonna explain. I'm gonna answer your question exactly how I did it, but I also want to touch on this because this is really important. This distinction here: when something matters to you, when you have the purpose, you find the time. When something matters to you, when you have the purpose, you also find the money. When something matters and you have purpose and vision around it, you also find people to help you. So this is critical because it is a chicken and an egg thing. One does come first. You cannot create time if you don't have passion, vision, and desire for something. That will not work because your desire will be to lay around or to not do it. And then you won't make the time. But we find time for things that are important. We always do. And I'll give you an example. I'm busy as can be right now. Like, I am so busy right now with my life, my family, my business, my whatever. I'll tell you what, if Oprah called me, which she won't, but if she called me and said, hey, what you doing, girl, tomorrow at 3 p.m. I don't care where I am. I'm flying and go meet Oprah. That's happening. I would make the time because it would be such a big vision and purpose and important thing for me. Right. So to me, ask yourself, like, when you think you don't have time, I want people to ask themselves, like, what's someone that they would do anything for, or like, what's an opportunity? Like, if you left them a message, Adam, hey, I have $1 million for the first person that gets here. Like, I'm pretty sure people would find time to get to you. So there's always that. So that's the first thing. So what I did first was I had to make a decision that I was ready to change. And that is the first step in figuring out your passion, your vision, your purpose, whatever you want. You have to make a decision. Just like you did, I'm sure, you decided you were done being the way you were going to change. So it is a line in the sand. It's a firm decision. I am tired of feeling this way. I am ready to shift. I'm ready to change. I don't know how yet, but that's what's happening. That's step one. Step two is you have to declare it. You have to declare it. Deciding is one thing. Declaring it is telling somebody. It's writing it. It's being vocal about it. It's telling whoever in your life, like, this is serious. I'm doing it this time. This is happening. You have to talk about it like it is already happening. The third thing, which goes with this, is you have to know what your vision is. Like, what is it that you want? You got to spend your time focusing on that first, and then everything else works itself out. If you focus on time first, you won't get to the vision.
Nice. Yeah. I feel like the part about declaring it, especially, that's hard for a lot of people because then there's accountability and we're like, right. Uh-oh, now other people know. And now there could be judgment. There could be pressure. So,
okay. But and if there's accountability, you're also going to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, then you are judged and you're accountable and you failed. So that is the ultimate risk. You say it. If you really believe you want it, then you got to declare it. Because now you will do it. I'll give you an example. This is so funny. This is recent. I decided that I wanted to do the splits. This is so random, but I wanted to do the splits.
That's awesome.
I'm 47 years old. I'd never done the splits. I was not a gymnast. That is never in my nature. I always believe like I'm not meant to do it. But I decided that enough is enough. I've been saying this for years. I'm going to learn to do the splits. So I decided. But I knew that wasn't enough because I wouldn't actually go stretch and practice. So I went on my social media. I went everywhere and said, I'm declaring that I'm going to do the splits. I don't know how yet. I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm going to tell you every day I'm working towards it. And in 3 months, I'm going to be on the splits, 12 weeks. And it didn't matter who told me that's not possible. You won't do it. It didn't matter. I was doing it. I'm like, whatever it takes, I'm going to practice every day. So every day for 3 months, I practiced the splits. I documented the whole thing on social media. And guess what happened? At 3 months, I did it. I did it. I always. Okay. But guess what happened after the 3 months?
Did you maintain?
Nope. I haven't practiced once since. You know why? Because I told everyone I'm going to learn this in 3 months. I never was accountable to after.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just like that. That's the thing. The declaration part is everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot with, in my gym, we do like boot camps and things like that. And I call it transformation light switch syndrome. Like, and this, I really see this with highly competitive people, and especially with men, especially tend to fall victim to this. We're like, I'm doing a boot camp and I'm doing this challenge. I'm going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And and then as soon as it's done, light switch off, go back to all the habits they were doing before. And
yes. So how could I have fixed the splits? How could they fix what they were doing? I could have said, I'm going to learn it within 3 months, and then I'm going to be maintaining it. And my vision, I didn't add the vision part. My vision is that I'll be doing the splits in Thailand, like whatever. I didn't finish that process.
Yeah.
So when you're deciding what it is that your goal is, which you're going to accomplish, you got to have your whole vision planned out for it, or you will. That is what happens.
So when you've got a big goal like that and you are mapping out your vision, you've got a great podcast. And I listened to your episode with Sarah Centrella. It's one of my favorite podcast interviews because you are two of my favorite people.
I love it.
So you guys talk about future boards, vision board, and manifesting those things. So do you have any other tools? Like, let's maybe explain how you use the vision board, but then also any other tools for
Yes. And by the way, this splits is such a funny little example, but I do that with business goals. I do this with personal. It's with everything. I just did that as an example of something extreme I'd never done that I wanted to use as that. So So what I did first in my rock bottom, and this is what I've used over and over again over the years, but the first thing I did was I made a vision board, because I remember thinking, I don't even remember what it feels like to feel good about myself. And I don't even know what I want. So what I love about vision boards is I didn't invent it. It's not my idea at all. They've been around for years. But I would grab a bunch of magazines and just start. I'm looking at mine right now as I talk to you. But I would grab whatever's appealing to me. And sometimes you don't even know what it is that you're looking for. And then what happens is you start realizing there's a theme on what you're pulling and attracting. And then what I would do is I would stare at my vision board and I would say, okay, I don't feel good about myself right now, but if I look at this vision board, it's evoking a feeling of peace and calm and all these things that I want. And I would look at the fit girl I'd put on my vision board and I'd say, okay, if I was the girl living in this vision board right now, what would I be eating? What would I be doing? What would I be saying? Who would I be hanging out with? What would I be doing right now? What would I be writing about? And I would just start asking myself those questions. And the cool thing about vision boards is it evokes feelings, and your brain, your body doesn't know the difference between it's actually you or it's just a feeling or a thought you have. So it helps you really shift, because if you want to change if you want to change something about you, you got to change two things. You got to change your thoughts and then the actions that you take to go along with those. Yeah. And you change those two things, you can become an entirely different person.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the, when we talk about like what we're envisioning, I've heard you talk about this before and I really like your thoughts on this. So let's say that we have a picture of what we want to look like, but then out in public, we see something that looks like that. And we kind of like,
oh my gosh, I love,
like, oh God, look at that.
Yes.
She's in her little showing off her legs. What does she think? We kind of bad talk them
all the time.
The exact person that we want to be like. So how do we?
I just did a video about that. That's funny. I just did a video about that recently. So basically, that's what happened. This is real. So especially you ladies, listen up. So when you ladies, I know all of you, you say, when I say, what do you want for your body? You're like, well, I want to be, curvy. I want a small waist. I want the big booty. I want, like you describe what you want. Okay. I want to look young. I want the big hair, whatever. You describe exactly what you want. And then what happens is you come into the gym and maybe you don't feel that way, but you're with your friends and you see a girl walk in that looks exactly what you just described. And what do? You turn to your friends sometimes and you start bad-mouthing the girl. Like, oh, she's fake. Or she got a boob job. Or she cheated. She starves herself. Whatever. We don't say nice things. We don't go up to the girl and go, you know what? You look great. What are you doing? We don't do that. Some of you maybe do, and I think it's great if you do.
Yeah.
Most of you, I know, don't tell me you don't. Most of you gossip with your friends about it. So now how are you going to achieve that goal when you've planted the seed that it's not a good thing and it's negative?
Yeah. And I feel like it's something that we do financially. We do with fitness. We do, in the online influencer space. Like I've even caught myself on Instagram, like, oh, they've got 10 million Instagram followers. They probably bought them all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just human nature. But money definitely has a big racket around that. Like people, but then you want to know why you're not attracting things. That's why.
Yeah.
That is why.
Yeah. So as we are on the topic of kind of like how we see our own body image, I want to pick your brain on something that I feel like is a really important topic right now. And that is walking the fine line, especially as people that are influencing other people in the health space, I feel like it's important that we have this type of conversation.
Yeah.
So we know that having a positive body image is very important, but I also feel like we have to walk the fine line of not allowing people to accept being unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know what I'm saying? So like being strong is beautiful, and accepting ourselves as we are
Yeah.
is important, but also like, I feel like we got to think about our kids,
Yeah.
our grandkids, and like making
Yeah.
sure that if we're 200 pounds in the unhealthy zone, like how do we
Yeah.
get our mind around that? So what are your thoughts around that?
Totally. Okay. So first and foremost, to each his own. So my thing to people is, if it's working for you, amazing. If you want to weigh 300 pounds and feel confident and beautiful and great about yourself, I am not going to stop you. That's great. That's not my business. That's all you. That's great. Now, if you come to me and you say, I've got health problems or I'm not confident, now I care. Now I do want to help. I mean, I care regardless, but I'm going to intervene and care that way.
Yeah.
If you want to tell me you're unhealthy, you've got type 2 diabetes, you're not confident, you feel terrible about yourself, but you want to argue with me that you love, everyone should love how you look, that's going to be a different conversation.
Yeah.
So it depends on what it is that you want and how you're feeling, what's all of that. There's a lot that goes into that. So I'd have to really understand that first. So, because there really is there's no judgment around that. There really isn't. What's not okay is what I have a problem with is somebody that really is working to get healthier, to work on their confidence, to reverse disease, to feel good about themselves. They're doing it for a lot of the right reasons. And then somebody that doesn't want to do that is overweight, will almost shame them that they're not accepting their body. And I don't like that. That's not okay, because I think that shame goes both ways and there's not a place for it regardless.
Do you feel like maybe in relationship dynamics and partner dynamics and friend dynamics like that, do you feel like I see it a lot, like people struggle where a woman will start to get in shape and then her husband will almost like sabotage her, because I feel like a lot of it is them projecting their own stuff. They're not ready to make that change yet. So they're like, oh, she's at the gym flirting with guys and she's looking like, all these like stories start to happen in our head. So are you seeing that out there still happening? And if you are, how do you suggest we kind of massage that situation?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know how to even answer that. That's like, do I see that? Sorry, say that again. Say that question again. I want to make sure
there are a lot, like, let's say two people are married and one person starts going to the gym and they're losing weight and they're not trying to like force it on anybody else, but that person is kind of showing jealousy and they're showing, they're dragging them down a little bit. So how do we come to a nice meeting?
Okay. Got it. So do I see that a lot? I don't know that I see it a lot. I hear it a lot. And what I would say is that as you take on different vision and goals for yourself, some people might not come along with you. And that's what I'm going to say about that. And you really can't concern yourself with that. And that sounds kind of harsh, but I'm going to be real. I have people that have lost a lot of weight and gotten their confidence back and feel great. And maybe their marriage didn't work out. That's happened. That has nothing to do with me. That has to do with the changing of them. And now they had different goals and alignments. I've also seen many situations where somebody has changed and made great health improvements and gotten their confidence back and all that. And their spouse followed along and wanted to do it too. So I've seen both. And we can't control what somebody else is going to decide to do with our good choices. And that is life. That is life. So that's about deciding what's most important to you. And if you are in a solid relationship and a healthy relationship, there should be mutual agreement and conversation around goals and vision and what you both want. So, and that works both ways. Like I'm pretty darn confident that if I gained 50 pounds just because, my husband would not be down with that. I'm not saying if I was sick or something happened, like he wouldn't support. Of course he would. But if I just was like, you know what, I don't want to work out anymore. And I don't really want to watch what I eat. And I just don't really care anymore. And I'm just going to be happy as is. And I'm going to gain 50 pounds. I don't think he'd be like so down. I just don't think that. And he shouldn't be. So why does it have to work the opposite way? Why can't it's the same thing?
Yeah. Do you ever feel being like a fitness influencer, a health influencer, somebody that's in the spotlight, do you ever feel pressure to maintain a certain,
Mhm.
physique or anything like that. But I get in my own head about that because I've lost
Yeah,
100 pounds. So my body looks different than the person that's
sure.
the average cover fitness model. And I've talked about on the
Yeah.
show before, like I even get self-conscious about just taking my kids to the pool in my hometown because I'm like, am I living up to this podcasting health person standard or not? So I'm always interested if people feel that at all.
Yeah, yes and no. More so earlier than now. But I will share that this is something that actually happened to me not too long ago. This is why I wrote Aging in Reverse. Is about 17 months ago, I was people followed me for fitness. I mean, that's really what people would come to me for, fat loss fitness. That's what they saw. And one thing that is unique about me is the abs. And I genetically, that's where I tend to get leanest and strongest first. I mean, so that's something that and I have a strong core. I train that way. And that's something that was important, but I did get a little carried away with that. So I was always analyzing like how lean I should be and all that. I was super caught up in that. And to the point where, yes, I ate healthy and yes, I worked out and took care of myself, but I definitely think I pushed and took it to an extreme without really thinking about overall health and approach. And what happened to me about 17 months ago really changed my whole course around that. I was working out on set for a company across country, and I was doing really intense workouts for a long period of time. And pretty much everyone that does an MRI in their 40s or 50s would see some kind of degeneration in their disc. Now, whether you feel it or not is different with every person. But for me, I have degeneration, and I've been dealing with that lower back pain in my between L5 and S1 for quite some time. But I knew how to train and work around it. But I never really looked at like, am I dealing with inflammation in my body, how I eat, am I taking in the right nutrients? I never really fully looked at that. I just thought I ate clean and unprocessed, and that's enough. So what happened was I got injured. I had what was like the worst back pain I've ever felt in my life. I didn't know at the time. It felt like labor pains to me. It was horrible. What had happened was I learned later. I went back, I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, my lower back had stopped hurting, but my right leg stopped working. In fact, I had something called foot drop, if you know what that is. My whole right leg was like tingling, like it felt asleep. I kept shaking it, trying to wake it up, and my foot was dragging on the floor. I couldn't lift up my foot. So I get back to California. I end up texting my orthopedic surgeon friend. He's like, you need an MRI right now. Got an MRI, and he calls me in and he's like, Natalie, you have the worst, largest, biggest ruptured disc I've ever seen in my life and my career. Like my whole disc, the entire disc between L5 and S1 had completely squirted out, ruptured out, and wrapped around my spinal cord, and it was cutting off the entire sciatic nerve path down my right leg. So what he said to me was, you need to have urgent surgery, like right now, to remove this disc. Otherwise, you're going to lose use of your right leg, and you could lose use of your bowels and your bladder, which to me was like, that's not even an option. Like, I'm having surgery. So anyway, so you asked me, this goes back to answering your question. You asked me, do I ever deal with that? So much was coming up for me around that. The first thing coming up for me around that was, I feel fake. Oh my gosh, I'm a fitness expert. I'm supposed to know this stuff. What? And now I'm injured. That was coming up now. And then I went into like, well, what if I can't ever work out again? Like, then I'm a fraud. I'm like, what my whole identity was in this.
Yeah.
So I had that. But what was even bigger picture with me around that was, how did this happen to me? Like, as much as I know, how did it happen to me? And I had to really start dialing into nutrition on a whole nother level. Now, I had a book before Aging in Reverse called Unprocess Your Diet, which is great. It helps with fat loss. It helps with general health. But as a 47-year-old woman, there's a whole nother level that I needed to really be looking at, and really looking at what causes inflammation, what causes pain, what causes the ability to get injured like that, and really dialing in nutrition on a whole nother level. So yes, I have battled that, and I've had to shift it as I've gotten older too.
So you've mentioned Aging in Reverse, the new book that's coming out that we're super psyched about. So was it this injury that really, like, you just don't seem like the type of person that's like, I'm going to do another thing because I'm not busy enough.
Yeah. So two things drove me to write the book. First and foremost, people constantly commenting on my age. Like, I can't believe you're 47.
Right.
And to me, when they say that, it's not because I think I look extra super young at all. I just think this is what 47 is supposed to look and feel like. So I'm like, what do you mean? This is what it's supposed to look and feel like. So if you don't think it's supposed to, what's going on with your tribe and what you're eating and surrounding yourself with, that you think that that's not okay? So what I uncovered was this whole, what I call false assumed truths around aging, that people assume because they're a certain age, they're supposed to like let themselves go.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily true. Like it depends on who you ask. That's one reason. So I had that in my mind that I wanted to do something on that. However, when I got injured like this, and I really had to take things up a notch and really dial in my nutrition and my mindset and so much more, what happened to me is I literally started feeling younger and more focused and more energetic. And I started looking that on the outside because of how I was feeling and acting. So it really started calling to me that, wow, there really is something to this. And by changing the way that we think and taking a little bit of different actions with our nutrition and those movements, you really can take those years off.
So with your book, who would you say is the ideal avatar, that person that you are trying to serve the most with this?
Yeah. So anyone could benefit from it, but I will tell you, like, the most, because I'm 47, I would say women in their 40s and maybe late 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond would benefit the most from it.
So give us a little bit of a sneak peek with the book. It's when this episode goes out, that's like launch week. We can actually access it. So give us a little taste on why we should be diving into this material.
Yeah. So one, I'm going to take you through what I call a 3-point process. It's called change your state, plan your plate, love your weight. So the change your state really ties into what we were talking about earlier on the mindset and the motivation and finding the time, all of that. So what I'm going to challenge you on in that book, but also teach you the skills to do, is how do you make a decision? How do you declare it? How do you figure out what your vision, your purpose, your vision, your goals for yourself are? How do you actually even come up with that? So I really take you through activities to get clear on that, which will help you not only with your health, but with your business, your personal life, any way you want to do it. I have actual assignments in there to help walk you through figuring out what that is. I also take you through how to unblock, recognize, and then unblock what I call self-imposed stops. Those are those things that you have started to believe just because. Like if you've believed I'm injured so I can't, or I'm too old so I can't, or it's too late because. All these things that we've started believing, the doctor said I have this, therefore I can't. Those are all what I call self-imposed stops. And you've been stuck in that. And by validating those things, I'm not saying you don't have those things, but by me validating and saying, you're right, that sucks, that doesn't give you any possibility of change. So I'm going to help you recognize them and unblock them, which is really key. And then once we do that, I take you through really simplified nutrition to help get rid of pain and inflammation and release the fat. And this is not hard to follow. I focus really on addition, like what you can add in to make less room for the bad. And we do eliminate a few things, but it's only for 10 days. So you can do anything for 10 days. You try it. You decide you're going to do it. And you feel great at 10 days. If you don't, you can always go back to what you were doing. But try it so you can see what's possible.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really love about your teaching methods, your material, is the amount of focus you put on the mental part of the transformation.
Yeah,
I think it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And I have to, Natalie, I have to come clean. All right. I have to publicly shame myself a little bit because, we were introduced by our mutual friend, Justin Shank, who can do the, he can do the splits, by the way.
I did not know that.
I'm just kidding. No, there's no way.
That's funny.
But when he initially said, hey, I want you to check out Natalie's stuff. And I started listening to your stuff. But I went into it the mindset of our industry is so overrun with people that are very good looking, but also very superficial of here's my super ab blaster 5,000 program.
Yeah.
And going in, this is where I'm publicly shaming myself. I had that mindset of it's another really good looking person that's going to do this thing. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to have this conversation. But then I started diving in and I was like, whoa, she's talking about the mental game, her own struggles. So first, I want to say that I'm sorry that I went with that mindset, but I feel like the way that you teach, it's needed. It needs to be heard, it needs to be heard.
Thank you. And I'll share that the other thing, and this is just from anyone that's listening that maybe even wants more than, their health and their fitness and whatever, because I know that's what a lot of this is about, but just overall mindset thing and what works in teaching and growing and all of that is just being authentic and real and sharing what you've been through. And I think that's what makes the difference, because I think so many times people are embarrassed to share who they actually really are. They're not being fully authentic. Like I said, I felt like a fake person years ago, 11 years ago, because I was being a fake person, not because of the way I'm dressed or outside looks. I don't mean that. I'm not talking about that kind of fake. I mean fake as in I was acting like I had this perfect life when that's not really who I was. Now I feel that I share all. I really am telling who I am and what it's taken. And for me to just say, follow this meal plan or follow this workout would be doing a disservice to people, because that is not what it's about. That is not what it takes. And I'll tell you, anyone and everyone that's had a massive transformation on their body physically, I don't care what diet or workout program they did, every single one of them, mindset was the key component. The problem is most programs don't talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And your podcast, which is also super awesome, is all about leveling up.
Yes.
So one thing I was interested before I let you go, I want to ask you, where are you looking to level up in your own career, relationships, health? Where are you looking to level up, and how are you working on achieving that?
Yeah, gosh, all different areas. I'm constantly learning, looking to improve. People sometimes will say, gosh, you reinvent yourself so much. I don't think I reinvent myself. I just share what I'm actually doing. I don't get stuck on a message I shared a few years ago. I let that stuff go. I share what I'm going through. When I first jumped in on to what I do now, I was in my later 30s, and I was very focused on, teaching and helping stay-home moms, single moms, let's get workout at home. Let's do basic. That's not me anymore. That's not me. I've really leveled up my life. So I'm more interested in other things, and that's what I'm teaching and sharing. It's not that I don't still have those programs or products. It's just not my focus right now. My focus right now is really on different things. It's on how do you stay youthful as we age? Like how do we channel that amazing young energy and focus and clarity that we had years ago, and possibility? Like you're not too old. It's not too late. I'm really focused on that. I'm also really focused on having people understand that failure and rock bottoms, because I've had many of them, are not the end all be all. And it's not something to be shamed or hide around, because that's real. So my podcast it's called Leveling Up, Creating Everything from Nothing. It doesn't even focus on health or fitness. It really is about how do people create massive change from a place of hardship or failure. So I am passionate. When you say, how am I leveling up? I'm much more interested in helping the whole person. So really more, I would put that in personal development, because it's not about just the workout. I still do workout stuff for people, but I almost cringe when people just want workout from me, because I'm like, that is not the answer.
Yeah. So have you felt any blowback from your audience? Like, you have a massive following. So if they're we want the abs, are they?
Yeah, I don't care. That's the thing about being authentic, though. That's what I'm going to share. When you're real and you're true to what you don't care. I would care if I was being fake about it. Like if I was like, okay, for money, I got to do this. And now people are giving me pushback. That would be where the disconnect is. And I would feel like, oh, I'm getting pushback. But when I'm clear, this is what I'm focused on. I even say on my posts sometimes hey, ladies in your 40s and 50s. Now, does a 20-year-old get bothered by that, or a 70-year-old? They might, but I'm very clear who I'm talking to. So I'm not going to apologize about that. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I do. I just don't care. And that's my lesson to everybody else. When you really are clear on your vision and what you want, you will not care that somebody else doesn't want it. Do you think Martin Luther King cared about people that didn't agree with him? Do you think he cared that they didn't agree with him? No. So do you think any leader, any change maker cares that somebody doesn't like them or doesn't follow? Do you think everyone liked Gandhi? I mean, no. That's the bottom line. So I don't do it for people to like me. I do it to stand in my vision and what I know is possible for people.
Yeah. That just reminds me of a story of I'm kind of transitioning out of gym ownership, and some people feel really, a lot of my clients are really, really freaked out about that. Yeah. I understand that. But I remember I got an email from somebody as I was doing more Facebook Lives and more podcasts, and I got an email from somebody that'd been a friend and a client for a really long time. And he was like, I wish you'd quit screwing around on Facebook and just get in the gym. And I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Somebody that lost 80 pounds and I really helped them. And so it is interesting. But like you said, when you have that goal, when you have that vision, whether it's a business change or a career pivot or weight loss or relationship change, if you feel inside of you that that's the right thing for you, you got to go for it, because that's the thing that really matters, right? And
people's opinions aren't paying your bills or taking care of you. I'm just going to say that too. Yeah. So, but I do also care what people are asking for. So I'm very aware of that, but what's the reason? And I'll tell you, the people that, when you are literally just looking for the workout or the nutrition secret or the pill or the bar or the powder or the wrap, there's so much more to it than that. And I guarantee what you followed to lose your weight and what I followed to lose mine and what anyone's followed, they might have been different plans and programs, but the commonality is every single one of us made a decision. We declared it. We had a vision of what we wanted, and that's what happened.
Yep. 100%.
And then we changed our thoughts and our actions, right? Isn't that what happened? And what's so crazy is everyone I interviewed on Leveling Up, which has nothing to do with weight loss. I mean, I'm talking about people that went from homeless to making $100 million or paralyzed to walking. Guess what? The things that they followed, same path. Yep. Decided, declared, vision. So thoughts and actions. So to me, why aren't we talking about that in the diet industry?
Yeah.
Because that's everything.
Yep. Again, my audience is cheering. I can feel them. Like I talk about this all the time. I'm like, if you don't have your mind right, if your why isn't bigger than all the why nots, it's not going to happen for you. So
yeah. So I actually help you do that in my book, In Aging in Reverse. I really help you get clear on that, because that's something a lot of people get stuck on. But I don't even know what I want. They say, I don't even know what I want. And that's what I help you with in Aging in Reverse.
Yep. So let's make sure people can get a hold of this book.
Yeah.
Where do we go? Yeah. How do we get into your universe? And then the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So NatalieJill.com is my website. Social media is Natalie Jill Fit. But the book, you can get it literally anywhere books are sold. You can go on my website. You can go, if you want to get some great bonuses, which who doesn't want free bonuses? You can go to age-in-reverse.com.
Bonuses.
And then then got some bonus, like more information on fat loss series and all that stuff. So
excellent. I want you guys to grab the book. I want you to take a screenshot and post it and tag Natalie and myself on Instagram so we can celebrate you completing this podcasting journey. Now, Natalie, before I let you go, I like to put our audience, I like to leave us with some action. All right. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that obviously you've inspired people here. I can tell, I know that my audience is going to be lit up by this. I just know it because I love it. You are telling a story that they want to and need to hear. So let's say there's a single mom that's really feeling like life is just dumping on her. Like the stress is happening. The financial thing's happening, the relationship thing's happening. Yeah. The mom, they're in full on mom mode, kids first. I get no time for me. Yeah. And now they realize, okay, I have to start filling up my own cup. I have to do something for me. Mm-hmm. What's something they can do in the next 24 hours just to initiate momentum? Yeah. That's the hardest part, it seems.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. How long do you have? I got to make this simple, I guess. Okay. So if I had to say number one thing, it's pause and gratitude. So that's kind of two. I slid into one, pause and gratitude. So when you're in the hustle, and I get it, I've been there. I'm still fight this. This is my natural tendency to be in hustle. Go, go, go. Like I book my husband laughs at me. I'll be like, I blocked out Friday just so not for nothing. And then like I see Fridays open and it start filling it. He's like, you just do this every time. So I get it. So what I would say shifts me out of the, like, I have no time and I'm overwhelmed and all that, is when I create pauses and gratitude for what I'm doing and where I'm at. So what that looks like is when I get up in the morning, for instance, and I'm like getting myself ready, the first thing I do is I write in a gratitude journal, just like quick. It takes me a minute. Like, what's 3 things I'm grateful for? And if you feel like you have nothing, I woke up. I have a kid. There's a lot of things. My sheets are comfy. It's warm today. Like anything, just gratitude will shift you. That and taking a pause to really be present with things will take your mind out of that wheel spin of I don't have time and nothing's working. What not to do, I'm going to share because I get messages like this all the time, and you can't get away with this with me. Is somebody will write to me and say, oh, I felt you. I'm you. I have all this. I'm going through what you were going through 11 years ago, and I have no money and no time. And they want to enroll me on why they are a victim. And I will not engage you on that. And here's why. Because I was there. I get it. And you get to have a little tough love, because you staying in victim mode and me being okay with that and everybody else saying, yes, you're right, it sucks, will never shift you. It will never shift you. So I'm going to challenge you to get outside of that and start playing in a place you want to be until you get to feel where you want to be. So start with a vision board, start with a walk, start with something, but you've got to start shifting those thoughts into where you want to go, not what's wrong with right now.
Natalie Jill, straight fire to finish this up.
I just lost some people now, and I get it.
Oh no. Because
if that doesn't resonate with them, if they don't want that, they're not going to want to learn from me. I'm just going to be real.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is, people like you and I, we care enough to tell people what they need to hear, which is not congruent with what they want to hear.
Yes.
But we
Yes.
care enough to cross that line or draw that line in the sand. And
Yeah,
go,
I have
"Listen."
to. It's not going to serve you by me saying, you're right, that sucks. Like for instance, the book is like $17. Okay. There's going to be somebody with a money story around $17. But if you don't feel that $17 is worth like changing your life, like to me, I can't work with that. Like you can find $17 for something that could change your whole life or whatever the number is for things. So like, or you could find the time, like when people are like, I don't have time. Like you could, like people that don't have time to work out, by the way, when's the last time you held a plank for 5 minutes, by the way? Can you hold a plank for 5 minutes?
I can. I try to avoid it if possible.
Okay. But if you were to go right now and try to work towards holding a plank for 5 minutes, you'd be sweating. You'd be quivering. You'd have a full workout.
Yep.
Okay. So don't tell me that you don't have 5 minutes a day to work out and change your body, because you could go work on a plank for 5 minutes and you would change your body. That's an extreme example, but there's always time when you want something.
Yeah. I think the hardest step is just carving out some time for us. And whether that's 10 minutes, I just did a challenge where the goal is to take 10 minutes a day for ourselves and just do something that we normally wouldn't do for ourselves. And people were struggling, like, where am I going to find 10 minutes? And like Tony Robbins says, if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, you don't have a life. You know?
I'd like to look at their phones and the screen on their phones on that, that little notification comes up now on iPhones about like how much screen time. Yeah. I'm pretty confident you were on your phone more than 10 minutes today. I see you.
Yep.
You scrolled.
Yep.
Many times. That added up to like 30 minutes, maybe an hour.
Yep.
So there's time.
100%. Well, Natalie, I know you're super busy. You are in full on launch mode, and I appreciate you making some time for myself, for our audience. I really am behind what you're doing. Again, I feel like your message needs to be heard. So again, I appreciate your investment in the Million Pound Mission, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, it's time to get out there and get into action. You've got some homework from Natalie Jill. Now it's time to implement like we know how to do and get out there and own it every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for hanging out for the after party. How about Natalie Jill? I told her after we got done, I'm like, dude, you ended on a sprint. That was amazing. So I love her energy. I love how we built momentum through that interview. And I hope that you got a ton of value out of it. I've got all of her important connection links in the show notes. Also, I've got it on my blog at Million Pound Mission. Just go and check out the episode 233 blog episode there and all the important links, especially getting her book. It's worth, like she said, $18 or whatever it is, and go check it out. And I think that you will absolutely love her information. So dive into that world. If you got something out of this episode, if you really enjoyed it, if it was impactful for you, it would mean the world to me if you would share it out with one person, whether that's hitting the share button on your phone and you text message it to somebody, or put it up on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or just telling somebody like, hey, this episode, this guy, he's got this podcast and he's doing something a little bit differently, and he is spreading a message that needs to be heard. So if any of this resonates with you, if you could share it out with one person, that would mean the absolute world to me. If you share it out on Instagram, make sure that you tag me at Million Pound Mission so that I can give you a shout out and reshare it out in my story. So I appreciate you guys so much. I love the momentum that we are building together. We are a part of this Million Pound Mission together. If you're getting results from the podcast, if you're getting inspired and you're like, oh, I lost 20 pounds, I lost 5 pounds, make sure that you donate those pounds. Donate that weight loss at millionpoundmission.com. You'll see the area. It doesn't require any opt-in. You don't have to give me your email, anything. Just donate that weight, and we're in this together, my friend. All right, I'll see you on the next episode.